Ladies and gentlemen, today is January 6th, 2015, and this is the return of the KNKL show, number 204. I'm your host, Kienan Lafferty, and today is the normal daily. Wow, we're actually back live. We're streaming on Twitch. Imagine that. Imagine that. It is my pleasure to return to you in the flesh. And yes, today is the KNKL show. And today what we are going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at our good friend MAOKAI, because many of you know I've started working again for Riot Games, but I get to do it from the comfort of my own office, my own home, because they're a freaking awesome company and they let me do that. And I was lucky to be a part of the MAOKAI visual update. He's like one of my favorite champions, and I was able to be part of the process for that. And today I'm going to be talking about the sketches and all, just the process that went into it, and just kind of letting you take a peek into what it's like working on the team. But before we get into that, we need to take a quick stroll down the lovely lane, because you guys are awesome and you've been submitting your artwork to the lovely lane so much that I have to now start scrolling it like this. But actually I think it looks a lot cooler now because it takes up the whole screen. So thank you to everyone who has been submitting your artwork. If you would like to join us, just click the link down below. If you're watching on YouTube, I need to put a link there to the Facebook. But yeah. Oh, but yes. Come to the Facebook, come get some cookies, and we'll have a gosh darn good time. All right. So let's go ahead and get into what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, and did I close down? I did close down the time lapse. How awesome of me. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and open this up again. So that way everything's under control. Everything's under control. Don't you worry. Okay. So this is what we're going to be talking about right over here. All right, so this is some of the work that went into the MAOKAI visual update, okay? And I'm going to be jumping into the time lapse right now. We're going to start doing this thing. All right. So the first thing that I wanted to get into for MAOKAI was I wanted to sort of define his face, because I noticed back when I was working on the Haunted MAOKAI, back when I was actually working in-house for Riot Games, a common problem that I ran into was that MAOKAI's face, if you weren't careful, it started to look a little bit like Malphite's, and I wanted to figure out what set him apart from the other, from Malphite, and made him look specifically like MAOKAI. But the interesting thing is that I actually didn't have too big of a problem with like the elemental guys looking similar. So I kind of like embraced it in a way. It's like I kind of want to just push it just far enough that MAOKAI had his own character, but then keep him close enough to Malphite and like other elemental characters. Do we have any other ones? I guess Xerath is kind of elemental, but we don't have like a fire guy, do we? Anyway, and we have Blobby Elemental, which is Zac, of course. But regardless, one of the biggest challenges that I wanted to tackle with this was, let me pull up, this is the original MAOKAI model here. One of the biggest problems that we had in the game, if you remember correctly, was that his head was kind of like this, sort of like this green mossy thing that kind of sat in his body, and like you couldn't really tell where his head came off of the body, and it just felt like this big blob of like kind of barky brown and green on top. It was really messy. It was a really noisy character, right? And we did not want him to be noisy. We wanted to quiet him down and make sure that he was able to pop off properly. So I thought of the idea of mixing in another element, and with this element would also come another color. So I thought, hey, okay, so we got wood, right? And then we've got green, which is kind of like leaves and stuff. But is there something else that we could do that I could put on top of his body? And then I thought, hey, what about moss? How about we just put a bunch of moss on his face and he'll look awesome, and then, yeah, everybody will be happy. So my original concept was going to be putting a bunch of moss on his face, and you'll see me as I go through here. And it's mostly just separating out these values. You can see I was wanting the bark and everything, all the browns, to be dark values. And then I was going to bring out his face or pop off his head from his body by creating moss. And I thought of it as like, hey, it's like facial hair. It's like the eyebrows and then like a beard type of thing. And yeah, it was it turned out okay, but then the problem that I ran into once I colored it was that it just looked a little, it was almost like too green. There was too much green going on. And yeah, so you'll see me kind of like, I almost give him like a shave. I shave off his leafy, mossy beard and start to kind of come up with some other ideas, introduce a little more brown into the mix. And then we find our happy medium as we go forward. But yes, this was actually super fun. I remember when Marino, also known as Iron Stylus, he's basically the person that I report to. He's my boss. He's my buddy. I just, like, we're freaking awesome. We go way back. We actually joined Riot at about the same time back when we were working on Ari together. We were sitting literally right next to each other. And that was when I met Marino. And he's a really cool guy. And I'm super honored to be working with him again. And yeah, he always gives like great feedback, great direction. And he knows which champions I like, so it's really easy. He knows which ones he wants to give me. So now what I'm going to start moving into is some more studies. And these are really, really fun to do because one thing that I really liked about MAOKAI, especially the old one, is that for some reason I always thought that he had a lot of expression. Like, it didn't show. It's kind of like a good analogy would be to what they just recently did with the World of Warcraft models. How the old models were very low poly, didn't have a lot of expression, and now that we're doing a visual update for MAOKAI, I was curious if we added more bones, aka like animation joints to him, if we could give him more expression in his face, and what would those expressions look like? So this is me experimenting with MAOKAI's facial expressions, and this was actually really, really fun. I love doing stuff like this. And MAOKAI has always been a very expressive character to me. I always like taking, especially like elemental or creature, monster-looking characters, and then giving them more human-like expressions. It's always a fun challenge. So yes, we had fun with that. We had tons of fun with that. And I will be pulling up the JPEGs, and we can look at them a little bit closer. But all right, so now what I'm moving into now is, now that I've got a concept that I'm pretty comfortable with, pretty confident with, very important thing that we need to do is realize that, hey, yeah, you can get a concept looking good in the 3/4 view with him standing there, but that's not how players are going to see him in the actual game. So what's really important is to draw them from what we call the isometric view, looking down from the game angle. And then also another important thing is that since he's brown and green, we want to make sure that we have values and colors that will pop him off of the background of Summoner's Rift, especially with the new one that was coming out at the same time. So that's kind of the challenge that I am trying to figure out right now. Trying to make sure that his browns and greens are different enough from the actual Summoner's Rift. All right. So I'm going to teach you guys a little secret here, okay? And you can't tell anybody. Shh, it's a secret. It's a little secret that I like to do when I draw back views. Okay, so check it out. What I actually did was I took the silhouette of this right here and I just flipped it, and you'll notice that it sort of becomes like an optical illusion. You can almost see the back view right here. And then I use this as a base to draw on top of, and I create the back view for my character. And we have lots of fun, lots and lots of fun. Let me make sure that everything is going good. We haven't streamed in a little while. Looks like everything is going good. Awesome. Awesome. Dropped 0 frames. That's a very awesome number to see. I love seeing 0 frames dropped. But yeah, you can see how I'm laying in and just using that silhouette to draw my back view on. And this is always very... for some reason, I always felt like I had a natural ability to kind of see things in 3D, and this is a very important skill for concept artists to have, especially if you're going to work in video games. Because when you send this off to the modeler, if you just send them the front view, as much as you'd like to believe that they can understand what's behind or what is going on behind the character, it's just, they can't, right? They can't just make it up. So you have to basically spell it out as much as you can in the actual concept. And then your modelers will love you, and the actual model will turn out looking really cool. Anyway, so yeah, so that is the end of the time lapse. Let's go ahead and jump into some of these JPEGs. All right, so this is the first one that I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about sort of like particles. We'll talk about, just a bunch of other things that go into the game. And I'll show you a really cool animation that my friend Brandon Liu made for me. He worked with me to create a cool animation for his Twisted Advance. But we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so as you can see here, this was sort of like the first pass. I liked these colors and everything, but we end up actually changing these later because they're just not different enough to pop off the background. So you can see like the different facial studies and all that stuff. Good stuff going on. And let's see here. Okay, so now the next thing that I did was, whoops. The next thing I did was this. These were a couple different color variations. See, it's like slightly yellower leaves, slightly yellower bark. And I really ended up liking this one a lot. This one popped off the best to me, and or stuck out the best to me. So we ended up going with this one. And later on, because basically we were trying to satisfy a bunch of different points with MAOKAI. Like one of them was, okay, so he's from the Death Isles, or the Shadow Isles, so he needs to have like green energy, but he's also like arcane, so that's like blue energy, and then it's like this and that and this and that. So we're trying to mix a bunch of things together, a bunch of elements together for MAOKAI, and have them fit, and have them all read together, and that was a lot of fun. So one of the things that I saw with this earlier one was that his bark colors were all very red, right? And it just didn't look like, this looked like he came from like a lush redwood forest, right? With no death, no crazy mages that came and sucked the life out of it and turned it into the Shadow Isles, right? So we wanted to kind of cool off his bark, kind of push it a little bit more towards the yellows, and then have the shadows kind of cool off to like a grayish blue. And then I also changed like the belt to like this purplish, and this was starting to feel a little bit more like what we wanted it to look like, more for MAOKAI. And then also I made the changes to reflect from the in-game angle. And by the way, for people talking in the chat, I do appreciate it, but save your questions for the end. That is the best time when I'll be able to take questions, towards the end. All right. But I do appreciate you guys being here with me. And I hope you're having a good time. All right, so now let's move on to something else. Let's do the skins. Let's talk about skins. All right, so the other skin that I had, that I was in charge of, was the Festive MAOKAI skin. And this one was a lot of fun. I really, really liked this one. Because I was there when the original MAOKAI came out. I was there when not the original MAOKAI, but I was there when the original Festive MAOKAI came out. And I remember looking at it and I was like, I just felt like he looked like a tree. He looked like MAOKAI, and he just put on like a Christmas tree costume. And I wanted to explore a different direction where he actually was more of like a fir tree. So like the bristles and everything kind of like line his whole body, and they kind of like come out his back here and there. And I really wanted them to put lights on. I don't know if they actually did or not. Maybe they put them on like when he's charged, like his little passive. But as far as I know, they did not. But the translation of this to the game was like the cleanest transition I've ever seen. Like they nailed this perfectly. Whoever modeled this, freaking hats off to that guy or lady. Hats off to that guy or lady, because they did a great job. Oh yeah, here's the current one, or that was the old one, so you can kind of see what I was going for. Trying to explore a different route. And they really like this one. So hallelujah, Christmas miracle. All right, let's move on to VFX. All right, so this is actually probably one of my more favorite ones because, well, I say favorite with like I don't know. I'm not that good at visual effects, right? Visual effects is a big challenge to me. So it's my favorite because I was forced to learn a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and just like full screen this. Oh, wait, I don't know if that works or not. I don't know if that works. Okay, never mind. We're just going to do it like this. All right, so this is another thing that concept artists have to do, because you say, hey, what are these particles going to look like? Hey, maybe we'll just like throw in some sparkles and kind of take the old ones and just add extra lightning to them or something, but we're completely changing up a lot of MAOKAI spells. So this is where the animation came in that I did with Brandon Liu. I commissioned him to work with me on an animation because one of my favorite animations was MAOKAI's Twisted Advance. So this was the animation that we came up with. I sent him over the keyframes, and then he put together this awesome animation, this freaking awesome animation of the MAOKAI Twisted Advance. And while we didn't end up going with this one exactly, because it was like the roots kind of jumping out of the ground, they ended up just like, it was almost like a hole and you could see the roots going underneath. I think that's the eventual particle they went with in the game. But this was a great like launching point, and I loved being able to do this and present it to the team. And I think they really liked it too. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to this because we're talking about particles. And the other thing is they were talking about like changing his ult, and there's all kinds of different things that happen when you're relaunching a champion. It's like, hey, yeah, the spell did this before, but now it's going to kind of do this, and then and you start designing like particles that look like that, and then they come back to you and be like, no, it needs to look more Shadow Isle-y, it needs to look more arcane. So you'd be like, okay, so let's make it more blue, and they're like, no, it's too blue. You know, like put some more green in there because it needs to look more natural. So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of elements that need to be satisfied when you're doing these things, and it is very challenging and very crazy, but I definitely learned a lot from doing these and working with the team, and it made me a better particle artist at the end. But these were the ones that they ended up going with, like this type of color palette. And again, this was sent to me by a really cool particle artist by the name of Shannon. Forget her last name, but she's really, really sweet, one of my coworkers, and she's really, really awesome. So she's really helpful, and she sent this over, and I was like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And then I just like took those colors, like literally I dropped them right over to the particles and just made the changes, sent them over, and they loved them. Imagine that. All right. And then you got to have MAOKAI just punching Annie. Like that just, in fact, this was not even like told. I just did this on the side. Like, no, I'm just kidding. They wanted me to do like punches and sort of like a couple treatments for his passive. Sap magic. Here's some early, dude. Look, that's how MAOKAI looked at the beginning. He looks kind of like a Pikmin, doesn't he? Interesting, huh? But these are some of the ideas for the runes that would go around his ult. And yeah, we're having a good time, having a very good time. Oh yeah, look, this is like, see here, Nami's like happy because she's in the ult, and like here she's not because she's outside of it. And she doesn't get the shield. So yeah. And there you go. Oh, and here's some other stuff. You can see how many different variations we went through. There's so many variations that you go through, especially with particles, I really feel. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these. So, yeah. And here's your little Pikmin. Here's your Pikmin there. And I can feel my nose clogging up as we speak. For those of you who joined me on Monday, you'll know that I am recovering from a little bit of a cold. And, yeah, that's just tons of fun. All right. So let's see. What else do we have? Was that it? I think it was. So you know what time it is? It's time for the question catapult. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please type your questions in the chat to the right, and I'll answer them, and then we're going to end today's show. Any questions you have, anything you have. But I will start off with one interesting question that was asked to me quite a few times on Monday, and I just want to put this out there for those of you who I'm sure have the same question. And a lot of people have been asking, hey, where the heck did the art, like the champion art spotlights go, right? When they would release a new champion and the new splash, and then they would have a time lapse of the artist painting that splash. And a lot of people want to know why Riot isn't doing these anymore. And the reason is because right about the time that I left, we got like, our splash artist team was literally like 4 people, right? And then we just recruited a bunch of new awesome artists, and we grew the team to about 8 people. And then because we wanted to start visually updating not only the champions in the game, but also all the artwork and the splashes, not only for the base champions, but for the skins as well, we had a lot of work to do. So in order to save time and like just make things more efficient, the whole team, there would be like 3 people working on one image. So the reason why they stopped doing the time lapses is because it would be really hard to like get all of those files from 3 artists, then arrange them like chronologically, and then kind of like make the thing and like edit it and all that stuff. Whereas before it was just one artist, and you could just take those files and then just slap them together, render the video, and then you were done. All right, so let's go ahead and get into these questions. The questions. Girly Girl is asking, now that you're working for Riot again, will you have time for more streams? Yes, I will, because I'm working from my own home office. I get to say when I work, and I get to stream whenever I want. But for the most part, my stream schedule is going to be Tuesdays. We'll just do it like we always did. The Thoughtful Thursday and Wednesdays, I'm going to kind of work into those a little bit. I don't know if we're going to do a stream tomorrow or Thursday, but we'll see. But for sure, we are definitely starting up the tutorial, the Tuesday stream. Tutorials, time lapses, whatever. Art Tuesday. All right, so you're going to be good. All right, let's see. Let's see. Checkerboard Asian is asking a great question. Does drawing not safe for work material interfere with going into any industries? This is actually an interesting question that I've thought of a lot. And there's a lot of artists that I've seen that do that kind of stuff, and I thought, like, if they came into me and showed me that portfolio, I wouldn't take them seriously, right? But what's actually very interesting is that, to be honest, I've just noticed that it doesn't really hinder you that much. Like, if that's what you enjoy drawing, then you go ahead. I personally don't, because that's not what I want to be known for. But if it brings joy to you, then you should just do what you like, and people will like it. And you will find a niche, right? So just do what you like. If it's kids' books, that's fine. If it's... Never mind. If it's anything else, then you enjoy that too. You enjoy that good. Excuse me. All right. Let's see here. How long does it take you? Yomu Koneko is asking, how long does it take you to make the particle effects, and what tools do you use in Photoshop to make it very vivid? Hey, that's a great question. That's a grand question. All right, so I will go ahead and let's pull up one of them really quick, and I'll kind of describe to you my process in general. So you're asking like how I make this stuff like glow and all that. It's actually quite simple. I'm working mostly with my chalk brush. I'm just kind of painting over top of the terrain. And then if I want anything to glow, I'll just make a new layer on top of it and then sort of do like a soft brush and make it hard light. And set that as your blending mode. And I can do a tutorial on that in the future if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, just new layer, set the blending mode to hard light, and then just kind of paint whatever color you want to glow around it. And yeah. You'll have a lot of fun. Let's give it a go. Okay, 2 more questions, then we're done. Let's see. Seduced Pigeon is asking a great question. How did you transition from education to finding placement? I was thinking of trying for a Riot internship 2016, but I'm assuming the expectations are very high. Let's see here. The way that I transitioned was actually, and I know this isn't really the answer that a lot of people give, is that I just, like, I was posted on the forums, right? You got to get noticed. Like, you can't just go to school and get your degree and say, hey, all right, where's my phone call, right? Right? You can call me anytime. I'm ready for my job. I got my diploma, got my degree. I'm an awesome artist, and I'm ready to do splash art. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, you have to be doing fan art. Like, basically, you have to be doing the job. I say this all the time. Do the job before you get paid. So if you want to be a splash artist, you better be making splashes right now and posting it on the forums. If you want to be a concept artist, you better be making that stuff, posting that on CG Hub, DeviantArt, all that stuff, trying to meet people, get people at Riot to see your stuff. If they do, then they will contact you. And that's how they contacted me, because I actually met somebody in the game and I submitted my portfolio. But up until then, I was also posting stuff on like DeviantArt and all that stuff. So a little bit of luck. Probably one of the best things you can do, though, is meet people. And you can meet people at conventions. Meet people at conventions, all right? All right. People saying stream more often. I will stream more often. I can only take one more question, guys. Sorry. And it is going to be... Kavis is asking a good question. He's asking about streams in the morning because people in Europe, it is 4 o'clock in the morning there, and I understand. But what I've started doing is I'm doing morning streams on Monday. So you can tune in. Those are a little bit more laid back, kind of just hang out. I'll make some tea, kind of cook some oatmeal. I'll draw and kind of sketch some stuff. And it's a great time to hang out. So I do that in the morning around like 9 or 10 my time. So I don't know, I'm guessing if it's 4 a.m. there, that would be like, I don't know, like noon for you. Oh no, that would be the evening. So in the evening time for you. But yes, I will be streaming in the morning for the people in Europe and Sweden. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, we're going to call it good. Feels good to be on the air again. Feels good to be live with you guys. Thank you for joining me live on Twitch, as usual. People on YouTube, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is Kienan Lafferty. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care. And, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, not CG Hub. CG Hub's dead. Go to ArtStation. ArtStation, where's the pros at? See you there.